everyone, it's Anna, also known as that Star Wars girl, and today I'm going to be talking about something that I came across on my Instagram feed. Now, it doesn't particularly have to do with Star Wars, but it does have to do with what's going on in current events and pop culture and how it is affecting movies like Star Wars, like Star Trek, like Terminator, like basically anything that we grew up loving, how it is being affected by things like this. Now, I usually don't like to talk about this kind of stuff, but when it is used in this way, I'm not alright with it. I think, second or third video on my channel was when I decided to look up a little bit about Kathleen Kennedy, and I found her video saying that women cannot relate to Luke Skywalker, we could only relate to Princess Leia, and oh, well, you can go watch my rant on that, but it's the thinking like that which I think is a huge problem. Just because I'm a woman doesn't mean I can't relate to Luke Skywalker. Out of all the movies in the Star Wars universe, Luke Skywalker to me is the most relatable character because I know what it's like to want to do something more with your life and have to overcome these what seem like impossible challenges, and you have to work to be able to get what you want, and that's what Luke Skywalker taught me. That's what Luke Skywalker teaches everyone, and that is why most people relate to Luke Skywalker, because it's a real life situation. Shit happens. It's hard, and you have to be through it, or you have to get through it, and you have to, stay true to who you are, and Luke Skywalker shows us that it's possible to overcome the most horrible things you could possibly imagine and still be a good person at the end of it. And that's why I love Luke Skywalker, and that's why I can relate to Luke Skywalker. Now, that's just the whole Kathleen Kennedy thing. But there's other women that are very high up in the totem pole in Hollywood, and they're making this big stand that women have to be in everything and that we need all the lines to go to the women. Well, look at what happened with The Last Jedi. That was a horrible movie. I mean, purple hair, what the hell was her point? Her point was to, look down on Poe, basically cause a mutiny because she's a horrible leader, and just the way that she spoke to him, it's like if she was played by a man, do you know how much people would freak the heck out because of the way that she spoke to him? It's a complete double standard, and it's not okay. Now, what I came across on my Instagram was people can post on their stories, and on these stories, it's sometimes people will take screenshots and tag people, but I found this one, and it's from the actress from Game of Thrones, Gwendolyn Christie. Now, I don't know much about her in her personal life. I always try to separate an actor or actress from the roles that they play. In Game of Thrones, she is one of my favorite characters. Brienne of Tarth is an amazing character. Now, this is the first time that I've seen her post anything, and it really made me just, how could someone just make this comparison and think it's okay? Now, this was, and I'm gonna have it up, a chart showing the difference between lines of men and women in movies. Now, if you made it fair as far as, movies that are about women as compared to movies that are about men, this probably would have evened out a little bit more. But the fact that in these movies, and I'm going to read them out to you: Spotlight, Birdman, 12 Years a Slave, Argo, The King's Speech, The Hurt Locker, Slumdog Millionaire, No Country for Old Men, The Departed, Crash, $1 Million Baby, The Return of the King, A Beautiful Mind, Gladiator, American Beauty, Shakespeare in Love, Titanic, and The English Patient. Now, I haven't seen all of these movies, but a majority of these movies I know for a fact are a male-dominated cast, and that is because it is historically accurate. One of my favorite movies of all times is on this list, which is The King's Speech, which is about King George, who had a stammer, learning how to, speak without stuttering, and it's about him and the relationship between him and his teacher before he has to go on the radio and give a speech. It is an amazing movie. There are only a few women in this movie, which was, his daughters, his wife, his brother's wife, and they don't play that main of a role because they are not the main character of this movie. That being said, Helena Bonham Carter, who plays the king's wife, or future king, or king, when he becomes king. She plays his wife. None of her lines go to waste. Everything that she says is important. She's the one that goes out and finds the teacher for him. She's the one that, encourages him. She's there for him. She's a loving wife. And it's true to, it's historically correct to the events that took place that this movie is trying to show. Slumdog Millionaire. I remember when that movie came out and what a huge success it was, and just hearing about it, and then finally watching it and just seeing this horrible life that this guy had to go through. And it's about this boy who was raised in the slums of India and how he learned all the answers to all of these questions on who wants to be a millionaire. And he goes back and reflects on instances in his life, and there's only one girl in the movie, and she's his love interest, and everything that happens between her and him is important. So it doesn't have to do with just the amount of lines that you speak. It's not about quantity, it's about quality. Look at Star Wars. Look at Princess Leia. Every single thing that Princess Leia says is important, and it has to do with the plot. She is a very important character in the Star Wars universe. Yes, she doesn't say every single line. It would get a little redundant and boring if she was the only one talking. You have to have interactions with other characters. When you look at all these movies that are listed, the women in these movies are important characters. In Birdman, it's his daughter. It's his ex-wife. It's the critic that he is trying to overcome. Michael Keaton put on an amazing performance in Birdman. It is a great movie. It doesn't matter that he had the most lines, that him and Edward Norton talked a lot. That doesn't matter, because every single line that every female spoke was a very important line, and it had to do with driving the plot. In all of these movies, they are a male-dominated cast, which would make sense as to why the men have higher speaking, it's higher on the men speaking. It doesn't make any sense. And I was going through and I was thinking, what if they did it with, Pride and Prejudice, one of Keira Knightley's best movies in my opinion. That movie, I'm pretty sure, is all women speaking, because it's her and her 5 sisters and her mother, and then you have a few male characters that speak frequently, but not as much. I mean, just go Bridesmaids. There you go. And I was trying to think of movies that didn't have, just, I guess, chick flick movies, because those are usually the movies that have a female-dominated cast. But it's like, The Devil Wears Prada. Great movie. Great freaking movie. Meryl Streep did phenomenal. Anne Hathaway did great as well. It was really interesting, because I watched that movie right after watching her in Princess Diaries, and to see her take that, this is a grown-up role compared to when I was watching her in Princess Diaries. It's a very different type of movie. Look at all these great movies that have female leads that are great. Look at The Sound of Music. Look at Julie Andrews and how she was a nun, but then they have to overcome the Nazis and she falls in love. Great movie. Silence of the Lambs. One of my favorite, actually, you know what, aside from Star Wars, it is my favorite movie. Silence of the Lambs, hands down, is my favorite movie. And, Clarice, everything that she says is important. It's showing what it's like to be a woman in a male-dominated career, and how she needs to prove herself to be taken seriously. And she even says that to her higher up when, he says, we can't, talk about these horrible things in front of a woman, and she tells him straight up, hey, that was uncalled for. People look up to you, and they think that it's okay to, not say things in front of a woman. That's not okay. I need to be your equal in this situation. And she's not afraid to tell her higher up that. She's not. She's a great character. She's one of the best written female characters of all time. And then them attacking movies like Lord of the Rings and Gladiator. Are you kidding me? What? The one line that Eowyn says when she kills the Night King, she takes off her helmet and she says, I am no man, and she stabs him in the face. You don't think that that's a great line? That's one of the best lines in the movie. That's one of the most memorable lines in the movie. But aside from that, there aren't that many women in Lord of the Rings. But the women that are in Lord of the Rings are awesome. And you get to see that. You get to see this girl who was just expected to just be a princess to go off and fight in a war and kill an enemy that nobody else could. could. That's a great moment in Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King. But that's not the plot of the movie. The plot is showing Frodo and Sam trying to get the ring to freaking Mordor. That's what the movie is about. A Beautiful Mind. That is about a man who was, a prodigy, and he had to deal with a mental illness that he wasn't aware of. And this is a true story. And yes, the one female character in that movie is his wife, Jennifer Connelly. And she does a great job. All of her lines are important in showing that she was able to get him out of his bubble. And she was able to get this guy who was socially awkward to fall in love and to start a family. Just because the women don't have as much lines as the men do in these movies doesn't mean it's not important, because it is. If you look at this ratio and you go through all these movies and look at all the lines that these women have, they are important and they drive the plot. Yeah, the men get the ones that are like, they get a few lines that are probably really good. I mean, again, I haven't seen all of these movies, but Michael Keaton's monologue in Birdman, that was phenomenal. 12 Years a Slave. Oh my gosh, that dynamic with Michael Fassbender, like, that was scary. I had never seen Michael Fassbender in a role like that, and it was horrifying, and I feel absolutely horrible that I'm blanking on the guy's name who was the main character in 12 Years a Slave, but that's the only movie I've ever seen him in. But his performance, like, that broke my heart to watch that movie. But every single thing said in all of these movies, between these characters, the women and the men, it doesn't matter. As long as it was important and it drove the plot, it shouldn't matter who is saying what. And the fact that they're saying that this is something that's wrong, it's just, whenever I see that meme, it's like, well, if you think that that's the only thing that's wrong, then you're part of the problem. And I think that just seeing this is extremely true, because you shouldn't judge a movie based on how many lines a person has. You can look at, again, Silence of the Lambs, my favorite movie. Hannibal Lecter is in that movie for less than 20 minutes and he won an Oscar. It's not the quantity, it is the quality. And I could continue to go on, but this video is long enough as it is. I'm sorry that this is an issue that we have to deal with, but I'm going to continue to say my 2 cents on it because it is absolutely ridiculous. But everyone, have a great rest of your day, and may the Force be with you, because we are going to need it.